What's going on, guys? B. Scott here with you on today's show. We got your quarterback sit starts heading in to week number 16. It's the semifinals, must-win territory. Hopefully this week is a little bit less riddled with COVID than last week. You saw the games. They weren't very exciting, but we're going to be looking at the quarterback position. I'm going to give you my starts, a few sits, and a couple stream options heading into this week if you need be. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the First Four Downs. What's going on, guys, and welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going through your quarterback sit starts heading into week number 16. Last week's games were kind of weird and awkward with the Tuesday night games and things like that. So it's Wednesday. I'm a day late on the quarterback sit starts, but I want to make sure to get through the quarterbacks and see who we got available. So the way I like to do it, I like to start at the top with your top producing quarterbacks, usually my top 10-ish, roughly ranked, and then a couple sit options with tough matchups and some stream options. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff, and then comment if there's any quarterback you want to hear more about, because I'm not going to mention every single one, but if there's a quarterback you want to hear more about, or pick one quarterback over the other, super flex, whatever you want to ask, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice and my opinions on the player, whether you should start him or sitting him heading into this week. So let's start at the top. I like to start with your must-start quarterbacks. So first off, Patrick Mahomes facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Multiple touchdowns, back-to-back games. Pittsburgh secondary is not very good, hasn't been playing very well. The pass rush is okay, but Kansas City at home. Now, yes, you got to worry. Obviously, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill both out on COVID. That could play a factor here with Patrick Mahomes, so you got to wait and see later in the week if those guys are going to be available. If they are, then Patrick Mahomes is a set and forget at quarterback. If both of them were to miss, maybe you lean elsewhere at another quarterback spot, but I could still see Pat Mahomes going out there, even with the other guys, 250, 2 touchdowns, something like that against this Pittsburgh defense. So he's a start for me. Josh Allen at the New England Patriots, multiple touchdowns in 5 of his last 6 games. Josh Allen, you got to start. You just have to. I know the New England Patriots have played well on the season, but their defense falters in certain spots, and Josh Allen's just carrying that team, so it's a must start. Justin Herbert at the Houston Texans. 24-plus points to 6-point touchdown lead quarterbacks in 5 straight games. That's what Houston's given up. And that's what Justin Herbert's done. So you got to be starting Justin Herbert here. He's been so good. It's been unreal. So you got to be firing Justin Herbert. Aaron Rodgers facing the Cleveland Browns. Come on. Aaron Rodgers playing at MVP level. 13 touchdowns. 0 interceptions over his last 4 games. Cleveland Browns defense doesn't look all that scary. So Aaron Rodgers must start for me. Matthew Stafford facing the Minnesota Vikings. They got the worst secondary in the league. Give the most fantasy points to wide receivers for a reason. So Matthew Stafford, huge spot here to finish as a top 5 quarterback. Kyler Murray facing the Indianapolis Colts. This is kind of a tough spot here. The Colts defense really come on strong in certain spots. Came up huge against the Colts or against the Patriots last week. And Kyler Murray struggled against the Detroit Lions. So I don't know what to make of Kyler Murray. There's no way you could sit him. He should still be a top 10 option here. But the Colts have allowed the most passing touchdowns in the league with 28. So Kyler Murray, you got to be starting him. Dak Prescott facing the Washington football team. Here's my dilemma. He faced the Washington football team 2 weeks ago and struggled against them. Now he gets them again. They're at home. Washington football team still giving up the most fantasy points to the quarterback position. How could you sit Dak Prescott? It's baffling to me at this point that you got to even question it. I know it's hard. Trust me. I'm in a league right now. Just made the playoffs. I took Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott. I happened to get both of them, kind of snaking a quarterback just to block a couple guys. But either way, both of them aren't working out for me. So I started Kyler last week. It worked out because he outscored Dak. But what do you do going into this week? Tough spot. Both these guys should be top 10 quarterbacks. You got to be starting them. So I would continue to do so. Joe Burrow facing the Baltimore Ravens. Last time he faced Baltimore Ravens, 400 passing yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns, I want to say. Jamar Chase had the big 200-yard game. You got to be starting him here. Baltimore secondary isn't very good. You've seen Green Bay just light him up. So Joe Burrow's top 10 option. Tom Brady at the Carolina Panthers. All their players are hurt. Leonard Fournette potentially placed on IR with the hamstring. Mike Evans is week to week. Yeah, sure, we hope to get Antonio Brown back. He does still have Gronkowski. He's facing the Carolina Panthers. That defense has kind of faltered over the last few weeks, so I'd probably still be starting Tom Brady as a top 10 option. I don't see how you could start somebody else over him just because Tom Brady can go out there and handle business. But he really struggled against the Saints last week. So, yes, I dropped Tom Brady just a little bit in the ranks this week, considering his pass catchers being out, and Godwin out for the season, of course. So, he's still a top 10 option. Tom Brady, you got to be starting him. Jalen Hurts, facing the New York Giants, looked healthy, played yesterday on Tuesday, took it to the Washington football team that was shorthanded. You got to be starting Jalen Hurts. He's at home, facing the New York Giants. Last time they faced the Giants, Jalen Hurts held to just one touchdown, the Philadelphia Eagles. So, but the Giants are not a good football team by any means. They've literally just packed it in. I've been saying it for weeks and weeks now. They're just ready for the offseason. So Jalen Hurts must start as a top 10 option. Now on to some sits. A couple guys that I don't love in the matchups. And yeah, maybe you don't sit them, but first off, Kirk Cousins. I get it. It's hard to sit Kirk Cousins. He's a top 10 quarterback on the fantasy season. He faced the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams give up the 6th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. 14 touchdowns allowed to the quarterback through the air. That's second fewest in the league. 0 touchdowns allowed over their last 3 games, the Los Angeles Rams. That's faced Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Trevor Lawrence. So, yes, Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson's been struggling, but Kyler Murray holding him to 0 touchdowns too. That's no slouch. So, Kirk Cousins, I don't love the outlook here. Now, he's been playing very, very good. 2+ touchdowns in 7 straight games for Kirk Cousins. So, he's playing good at a high level. But the Rams defense has played very, very well, and they're getting even stronger. So I don't love the matchup here. Kirk Cousins is at home to the Rams, and Kirk Cousins is one of these quarterbacks that in a game in which he shouldn't be in, he ends up going off 300+ yards, 2-3 touchdowns. So that's why I'm sitting here saying maybe beware with starting him. He could still have a good day here. It could be a potential shootout. So Kirk Cousins to me is a sit, but I understand if you're going to roll him out there. Another sit for me, Ben Roethlisberger. He's been okay, viable start option over the last couple weeks in certain spots, but it's just not a good spot here. Kansas City, they still give up, I want to say, somewhere like the 10th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, but over the last 8 or 9 weeks, they've been very good. Kansas City, last 9 games, they've had an interception, at least one, against the quarterback, 270 or less passing yards in 9 straight as well. Kansas City's defense. The defense playing well. And Ben Roethlisberger coming off a game at home where he passed for 148 yards, 0 touchdowns, and they got the win. The defense took it home for him. Tennessee, they can't score any points. So I just think Ben Roethlisberger is going to struggle in this game. He is on the road, and Kansas City's defense is playing very, very well. So for me, Ben Roethlisberger, there's no way I'd even potentially even stream him or even think about starting him this week. And then Carson Wentz at the Arizona Cardinals. I have him as a sit. 4th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position, the 4th fewest yards, but they have allowed 2+ touchdowns in 3 straight games. So yes, they're giving up a few touchdowns, especially recently. And I don't know. Are we going to call the Cardinals just a fall apart team at this point in the season? They're losing a couple pieces and they're losing games. So I don't know what to make of it. But Carson Wentz, 57 yards total. He only threw the ball 12 times, had 1 touchdown, had an interception. Carson Wentz, 180 yards or less in 4 of his last 5 games. Just 1 multi-touchdown game in that stretch of those 5 games. So I don't like the outlook here for Carson Wentz. I don't necessarily know if I see a shootout here. The Colts defense played very well. Is the Arizona Cardinals going to be able to slow down Jonathan Taylor? At this point, I don't think anybody can. The guy's a madman, and he's making it happen. 1 big play, 70 yards touchdown, So Carson Wentz, I just don't like him in the stream option this week. I would be sitting him for sure. Now on to a few stream options, guys that I like in the matchups. First off, Russell Wilson. I had him as a sit last week. He struggles against the Los Angeles Rams, and he continues to. 156 empty passing yards with an interception to end that game. But this week, Chicago Bears, they're playing with no secondary. A lot of them are on COVID and out just last week. And so I like him in this matchup. Chicago defense plays very well at home, but they're not as good on the road. Russell Wilson, facing the Chicago Bears, 4th most fantasy points to the quarterback position. Just 6 interceptions on the season for that Chicago secondary. 250 yards and 2 touchdowns average. His previous 3 games before the Los Angeles Rams, Russell Wilson was. And the Chicago Bears have allowed 12 touchdowns to quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks. So for me, I like Russell Wilson as a good stream option this week. I could see 230 to 250 passing yards, 2+ touchdowns here. I think he bounces back. Hopefully Lockett's back from COVID, the COVID list, and they'll be able to get that offense firing. I think they'll be okay in this matchup. Matt Ryan, and I like Jared Goff, to be honest, in these matchups, but Matt Ryan is facing the Detroit Lions. Now, yes, Matt Ryan struggled over the last 5 or 6 weeks. No multi-touchdown games. It's hard to go out there and just guarantee and trust him to score touchdowns, but Detroit has still allowed the 6th most passing touchdowns to quarterbacks at 23, have allowed 2 touchdowns to quarterbacks in 2 of their last 3 games, and Matt Ryan's at home. He plays better at home. So, and the Detroit Lions defense doesn't necessarily scare me. They're playing a little bit better as of late because you got guys out there that want to play hard for their head coach. They want to win football games. They got a great culture, in my opinion, going, and I think they're moving in the right direction. They just missing a couple key, star players, especially on defense. So for me, Matt Ryan is a good potential stream option. 236 and a touchdown last week against San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, they were able to move the ball on them all day long. They just couldn't get it done in the red zone. I think Matt Ryan bounces back here, has a potential 230 to 250 with 2 touchdowns here. So a decent streaming option. Not saying to go out there and start him over some of your studs, but I think he'll have an okay day here. And then Jared Goff's going to round out my quarterbacks. Now, yes, Jared Goff is on the COVID list, so hopefully he's ready to go by the end of the week. But it's a great spot, and Jared Goff's actually playing very well over the last 4 weeks. Atlanta, second most fantasy points at the quarterback position, the second most touchdowns at 27, the most fantasy points to quarterbacks over the last 5 weeks. So the defense has just been giving it up all day long, and Detroit's playing a little better. Jared Goff, 2+ touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games. He's got 3 touchdown games in his last 3 games. Coming off a game against the Arizona Cardinals, 216 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and the interception. He's playing good at a high level. The offense is moving smoothly. DeAndre Swift looking like he might be back for the game. He came back to practice today on Wednesday. We'll see if they roll him out there. Jamal Williams also came back. Craig Reynolds has been getting it done. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds. This wide receiver core, they're out there playing hard. So I like Jared Goff as a good potential stream option this week, and I get it. It's hard to trust a guy on a team that's in dead last place, so I understand. But Jared Goff is a good option, I think, if he's back and healthy heading in to week number 16. So that's it. That's your quarterback sit start stream heading in to week number 16. It's the semifinals, must-win games. You got to get the W this week to get to the championship. So you have any questions or comments about any of these quarterbacks, ones that I mentioned, or anything, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice or my opinion. Sit, start, pick 2 quarterbacks if you play in a 2-quarterback league or super flex. Start one guy over the other. Whatever questions you got, drop in the comment section, and I'll be glad to give you my opinion. And while you're there, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell for all your content for fantasy football all season long, all the way up to the championships. We'll have some playoff videos. We'll have the Super Bowl videos. We're going to have your off-season stuff. So just keep it locked and loaded right here at the First 4 Downs. It's been B. Scott.